Hi, and welcome back. So, what we've done so far is started to put the pieces into perspective so we can see where the control lies truly and how we can have the impact that we desire in every part of our lives. One of the biggest places, though, is career, and that's where a lot of people fall short. That's where a lot of dreams seem to crumble. That's where a lot of plans seem to stop, because career for a lot of people is the big cherry on top of the cake, and for some people it is the cake itself. For some people, this is where they're going to find the expression, the vehicle for the expression that they need to have in their lives. And for some people, career is just a place where they go to make money, and they can walk up the ladder and create a presence that eventually should sustain them in their later years. But career is so much more than just a place where we go to get our ego satisfaction, and it's so much more than just a place where we go to get a paycheck. A career should be that fulfilling activity that you are part of day to day, that is not only the expression of your highest purpose, but it should also be that place where you go to evolve your mission plan for yourself. It is inherently the direction that once you start to walk it, opens up more creative areas of expression for you. Whether it's through promotions or raises and continued education, and that your boundaries expand, or whether it's just a place where you get to create, and you get to create more and more, and your creations get more intricate and more involved, and the more true to who you really are. A career is a place, however, that for a lot of people is ignored because of the work and effort that's required. And a lot of people strive from an entrepreneurial place to create what it is that they want to be part of, but they've got knocked down so many times, or they're down right now. And if you're a part of that, I want to communicate some encouraging words to help you to get back up and stay the course. For people who are down right now, this sometimes, for some people, is part of a pattern. It's a pattern of being down and starting over. For some people, it's down and starting a new project. And if you're the kind of person that's starting a new project time after time, we're going to want to talk to you too, because there is something that you can do to ensure that you're not being frivolous with your time, you're not scattering your energies, but what's most important is that you know that what you're spending your time on is what you really want to be doing. And so we're going to address that. So mostly, for the most part, we are worker bees. We're here, we're working for the man, and we're trying to find out where we're going to get our satisfaction. And so career is that platform. So let's say you're working the 9-to-5 grind and you're not satisfied with what's happening in your life. Perhaps the money's not there. The job satisfaction when you get home at the end of the day isn't there. Perhaps you're sick and tired. Perhaps you dread going to work, or when you're at work you just dream of going and doing your real job, whatever that might be. And that might be a part of a charity movement. It might be educating people. It might be creating music. It might be acting and creating art, for that matter, of any kind. And your problem may lie in, how do I take my talent and monetize it? How do I bring my talents to a place where I can sustain my living off of doing this thing that I love? A lot of people believe that they have to be the world's best in order to be paid to do what they love. When you are your own leader, your own CEO, all you have to be is better than what you were. And if you're watching your business, you're going to realize those opportunities and places to grow. You're going to make those changes. Your own business is going to flourish. But if you're trying to become something for the approval of somebody else, whether it's an agent or some other entity, which for many people is an avenue for how they get to that place where they consider themselves successful or successfully active in what they want to be, then you're going to need to also tweak your thinking, because what this can do for a person is it takes the standards that you have for yourself, they hand them to another person, and these standards, new standards, may be higher for you, but they may also come at the cost of compromise. It may be the compromise of your conscience, of something that's important to you, or it may be come at the cost of compromising the method or the subject matter with which you work. And I'm here to say I believe that you can have the best of both worlds. You can do what you want to do in the way you want to do it, about what you want to do. But you have to get clear about what it is that you want to do, and then get clear about how you want to do it. When you're clear about those things, then you can start to find ways to get to the place where that's happening for you in your life. Specifically, let's talk about the entrepreneur. The entrepreneurial spirit is an amazing, adventurous spirit. They're enterprising. They take risks. They fall down, but they get back up. And there's a lot that we can learn from that way of living, even if we're just a workaday, blue-collar kind of guy or girl. So what does the entrepreneur really learn that everybody needs to learn but doesn't get the chances often? Well, an entrepreneur has to do their own marketing. They have to do their own creative content. They have to figure out what it is they're going to sell, how they're going to do it, and often they have to do it on a budget, especially enterprising. You know, starting off with no capital, or you got a great idea, but that's all you have. Well, you got to turn that into some sort of tangible something so that you can move along the process of creating it, bringing it into manifestation. In this day and age, there's a lot of easy ways to manifest things, whether you need to manifest content, whether you need to manifest an actual prototype, or you need to get some sort of form or expression on paper for your idea. It's important that you start somewhere. I know people who start business after business after business, and the main infrastructure isn't there. They're missing a business plan, or they're missing a marketing strategy, and these things can be easily outsourced to contractors, people that you can hire on sites like Odesk.com, Elancer, and there's other sites like that. And I point that out because there's a lot of easy ways to outsource the work, which for the most part is what is holding people back. It holds people back because they're afraid. They don't know where to start. They're concerned it'll take too much money, too much time, that it's content that's over their head. They want to be well read on the subject before they pursue it, and as a result, they never end up starting it. They just don't get past wanting it. And one of the easy ways to keep yourself motivated to get past that point is listen to content, specifically media. For me, if you're not a reader, I enjoy reading, but I find I have a lot of free time in the car. And if you're a driver and you've got time in the car, you probably got time to pop in a CD. Maybe some Tony Robbins, or somebody who motivates you. Maybe it's somebody who is a spiritual leader, maybe somebody like Deepak Chopra. You can evolve your mentality, and this can help you to get past that phase which is keeping you back from actually starting and completing the things that you have to do in order to grow a business. One of the more profound changes that I've noticed in my professional experience is the amount of effort that it takes to do a small thing is usually as heavy as it is easy to procrastinate on. If I can procrastinate on it, if I can put it to the side, if I can ignore it for a little bit in order to not have to deal with it right at the moment, I start to create more and more pressure on myself to eventually do it. Because when I sleep at night, I go to sleep, I start to think about how much stuff I didn't get done, or how I'm still sitting on that project, or how I haven't budged an inch and it's been months. Maybe it's been years and I've just been looking at the next step. And that effort, once you put out the amount of effort, it may be that all it requires is a phone call, or maybe it's something like we've just discussed. You just need to outsource, some of the work in order so that you can focus on what you're better on. If you're a left brain person, maybe you need some help with the creative side. Or if you're a right brain person completely, maybe, then, which I think we're all at least have some of each, but maybe you need somebody to work on the administrative end of things. And that way it brings you closer to getting to that place where you can just get out, shine, and do your business. You are there to do a job, and you need to get the distractions out of the way. But what's most important is that you don't ignore the fact that you need to do that and kid yourself for years. But you confront that fact, you address that fact, and you get on to creating. And that's what most people don't do. And whether it's fear or whether it's laziness, whatever the case is, it's holding you back. And so it's a problem for you. And it's something you need to address. Because it's kind of like gambling. It's like they say in the back of the ticket. If you're gambling more than you can afford to lose, then you have a problem and call us. And that's the same thing. If you're wasting more time than you can afford to waste, you have a problem. If you're wasting more resources, or if you're wasting more time than you can afford to waste, you have a problem. And you have to address it like that. You have to treat it like a problem, because it is a problem. Your end goal, where you end up in life, is your responsibility. It's not going to come down to what anybody else did or didn't do for you, what anybody else did or didn't say to you, whether it be encouragement or whether it's criticism. It comes down to you being your toughest critic, but also only measuring yourself according to your past performance. So you're rational in that you expect better out of yourself, but you don't expect something out of you that's in somebody else. And comparing ourselves to each other is a great way to find yourself in an emotional dire strait. When you're trying to find out why you're not succeeding, and all you can think is, I'm not as smart as this person, I'm not as diligent as this other person, I'm not as convincing as this other person. Whatever your case is, you gotta scrap it. That is none of your business. How other people feel about your performance, let alone being unproductive. So when it comes down to it, you've got to make sure that your attention is on your quality of work and on whatever issues that need to be addressed being addressed. Now, is a lot easier said than done. In creating priority lists and things like that may or may not have been effective for you, and maybe you've never really tried to be a list person. I recommend writing a to-do list basically every day, because every day you are given multiple tasks from multiple places. whether they're self-imposed on you because you know that pay electricity bill is something you've got to do, then so be it. Go get a haircut. I love the satisfaction of checking things off so much that go take a shower is on my list. That's that's a freebie. But checking these things off creates momentum, and you start to find ways around what order to do them in. You don't necessarily need to go, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 11 or however many. And the priority, list, I like to do that sometimes if I have a really convoluted list of things to do. But it might just be what's easiest. What do I feel like doing? I don't feel like doing anything. Okay, let me do the easiest thing. Or how about, I do the hard thing. It's usually best to do the things that are quickest to be done, and also more importantly, the things that have the highest priority. And sometimes one thing doesn't have a higher priority more than another, but it's just important to figure out what has to be done, and then you can play around with how you do the rest. But this ensures that you're documenting your responsibilities. They're not just sitting in your mind where your memory is going to drop them later, and you can actually expect to have things done. You can look back at the end of the day or even at the end of the hour and see you've done everything for the day within the hour. Thanks to this list, things that you would have just been running from in your body, thinking about it mentally and diverting to this distraction and that distraction. But when you look at it, a list, you attack it, you confront it, you strike it off the list, it's like, geez, these things take so little time in reality. And it's these little things that actually have grown to control us. That's an unfortunate problem. That's an unfortunate problem that most people are going through who are not succeeding, and it's procrastination. And yes, as I said, that can be a manifestation of fear and worry and doubt and that lack of confidence. But as you start to overcome these problems through attacking them tactically, systematically, methodically, then it's going to become easier and easier to see how you're going to overcome other issues that come into your life. So you're going to start small, you're attacking things, and then until you're running your career and you're attacking big things all the time without worry or fear or frustration, because you know the only thing separating you from getting the job done is you doing it. And that makes more sense as you start to go. Obviously right now it sounds redundant, but eventually it's the key to your success, is just do it. So then there's the people who want to have a specific end goal in mind. They don't know the way that they want it to come about, and that's perfectly all right. A lot of times what happens is people don't know what they want, but they know how they want to feel. In the end, they want to feel famous, or they want to feel rich, wealthy, or they want to feel popular, beloved, or they want to feel admired, respected, they want to feel productive. That's the emotion they just got to kick out of their body. And they don't know how it's going to come about. They just know that once they feel that drive, like somebody who's exercising, they just want to feel the iron pumping, they want to feel the blood flowing. They don't care how it comes about, whether it's helping you push your car down the road because it's stalled, or going down to the gym, or helping their dad move things around in the backyard. They just want to get the goal done. So that is great, but it goes almost hand in hand with needing to create emotions out of the circumstances of your outside world. And while this can lead to great things on one hand, it can also lead to frustration if the motives aren't sound, which means in alignment with what you really want. Because there's a way to satisfy more than one longing in your life at the same time, not leaving anything really behind, especially when you're willing to take on a complex venture like a career. You can satisfy so many different departments of your life through this expression. If you're looking to satisfy goals for other people, if you're looking to measure up to other people's standards, to do what your friends are doing so that you make the income, or do what they're doing so that y'all work together and y'all are doing the same thing, because man, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just a career. That's not important to me. The music's important to me. Well, you can leverage your efforts so you can embrace the music and bring the music into what you want. Because you might be a good musician, but at the same time realize, like, look, unless I sell my soul to the devil, this CD is probably not going to be where I feel it needs to be. But look, I can still express myself musically by working in conjunction with these other skills I have. Maybe it's administrative, and now you want to start a record label, or now you want to work with people who are, maybe you're good with law, and you want to work in music law, or you want to deal with issues that are bothering Hollywood celebrities. You may be able to combine your two talents in order to get something that's satisfying. It can be lucrative for you, it can be fulfilling in that you're involved in what you want to be. It's fun, you're passionate about it, so it doesn't feel like it takes up any time or effort, and you get all the satisfaction. And by being persistent with it, you get to a place of excellence and you excel. You can create a brand, you could create a niche, a new industry entirely. You can create a new product, a new wave of thinking. So much can come out of evaluating other things that you are good at, and not just resting on one idea, but maybe you're just not dreaming big enough. Maybe you are more multifaceted than you're giving yourself credit for, and you're holding yourself back. So that's another issue that a lot of people are not even realizing. They're running away from doing things that would really take them to where they want to go. If you're stuck in a cycle of unemployment, of inactivity in your life, if you want to have a career, but then you have that empty, hollow feeling in your stomach whenever you think about doing what you want because you're so far from it, maybe you don't have any job experience at what you want to do, or whatever the case may be, there is an opportunity for development here. And it's during these periods of downtime that the universe really gives you an opportunity to readjust your place and your trajectory. For instance, if you have always wanted to pursue art, like we were talking about, maybe you've always had a sports side, you've always loved basketball, and then maybe you consider yourself a humanitarian type person. You like to help people. Then, start up a painting basketball league, paint with basketballs, after school club, set it up, hit your basketball into some paint, splatter it on the wall, I don't know, do something crazy with it, do something unique, put it together, throw them into the blender, see what happens. Trade out basketball with football if you're into football also, or trade out painting with writing and see, how writing and, basketball or writing and football clubs go with, the Boys and Girls Club, or some sort of local organization that helps senior citizens or something. I don't know, maybe there's some people who are older and still love sports, Can you imagine that? Some of these old guys in the retirement home still love sports. I think it's possible. I think there might be an option there for that guy. So that's what I'm saying. You just got to get in there and you got to be creative, because if you're only wanting to fill up niches which already exist, you might succeed. That might be what you're put here for. To be the best singer, to be the best author, to be the best president that we've ever had. At the same time, you might be underestimating just how many possibilities exist for somebody who's willing to create and stand out and actually follow through. Chances are your idea has been thought before, but it's probably passed by many people's minds without any action. So before it passes by you, maybe take what you're thinking and put some steam behind it and see if maybe it can flow. If you are working a day-to-day job, if you're working already, let's say you're working at Burger King, or you're working at a factory, or you're working at some blue-collar job, appreciate the experience of what you're doing. Because if you can just look at life and say, I'm just glad I'm here. I've had a lot of different kinds of jobs. I've worked in shoe stores, stockroom. I've worked in various fast food restaurants. I've worked in other retail. I've worked on the phones, telemarketing, logistics. I've worked sales. I've worked IT. I've worked all sorts of random things. I happen to have a very random resume. But there was really only one job that I didn't like of all of them jobs. And even that job I did like. I just was going through a period of my life where I always went into work hungry, and I never seemed to have what I needed to go and eat on time. And so I made myself basically miserable for work. And I took it out by not being happy with all the frustrating physical requirements that that job required. So in retrospect, I still love the job. And I've loved every place that I've ever worked, because each place, for me, became an adventure. Whether it was Burger King or Subway, which, by the way, I've worked at many of these places that I've always frequented. Growing up, we go to the McDonald's or the fast food, and I always thought they had a cool job. Now, I grew up in a small town, but I thought that was a cool job. Just being at the window of the drive-thru, or getting to wear the cool hats, with the logo on it, proud, McDonald's or, employee, or whatever the case was. For me, that was awesome. That was cool. And so you might say, well, Robert, your standards are pretty low if you're walking around thinking that's good. How did that lead to aspiring to so much more? How is that something to help people? Why would you say that? That's aiming below what we're capable of. And I'm going to tell you, not only is it not aiming below what you're capable of, it is the stepping stone to get you to where you want to go. In working for a restaurant like Subway, for instance, you can learn how to basically hold the store together on your own. Frequently, Subways, the staff works by themselves. And there's different types of operations that have different types of dynamics between different types of employees. And no matter what you're doing, you're pulling away skills like problem solving, group effort, creative solving, counting, money. When you say that you've worked with money, that can help develop trust in another employer who wants to know that this isn't your first time handling a dollar bill and ain't nothing crazy gonna happen. I've worked at a bank before. That was really great. That was awesome. I always thought all my jobs were everyday jobs, really. I always thought were just amazing. They looked fun. They looked interesting. And you may not be like that. You may dread ever getting behind the counter, even though you've never have before. And that may just be your body saying, I don't want to be in that direction. But it's one thing to run away from something, but if you don't know what you're running to at the same time, you need to get clear about that, because you're wasting time. You may as well be in the fire, so to speak, flipping burgers and not knowing what you want to do yet, than sitting down and just contemplating life and maybe playing video games on the internet. Now, I don't know how many people who are avid video game players are going to watch this. The ones that I'm personally knowledgeable of are probably not as into this sort of material as someone like yourself. But I have to assume that you're a motivated person. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at this place talking. So what is holding you back that you need to acknowledge? chances are you are intellectually honest and you want to develop along the lines of your abilities, your talents, skills. So that's what this is really all about, is making sure that you are on track to fulfill your life's purpose. And I really believe that when it comes to your career, that you should be aspiring toward your life goal. How can I align working at a CD store or a shoe store or a bank with my life purpose? I mean, how can my life purpose be put in a box? And the answer to that isn't what is the name of the company you work for, or what is the title of your job, or what are your daily responsibilities, but it's a matter of, am I developing character, integrity? In other words, am I doing my job to the best of my ability? Am I doing it with a smile on my face? Am I cooperating with the people that I work with in order to ensure that the job gets out, everybody's happy with me, I'm happy with them as best as possible? It's things like that, because those skills are the real skills. Like, let's say you want something in the corporate world and you're an antisocial person. You don't like to talk to people. That could be a problem for you. In my experience, yeah, you can have defunct personalities in all sorts of positions. But those aren't the places that are either going to cause you the growth, because if you're putting up barriers, it's probably going to kick back against you. You're resisting and it's going to resist you, and before you know it, you're going to find yourself at a ridge or at cross purposes with it. It's going to eject you, or you're going to eject yourself. Not to mention the misery of going into work and hating your job. But if you have a good mind about it, a good personality about it, if you've got a good attitude, the job can bring you rewards. It can be the vehicle for your success, and it can also bring you an opportunity to grow in ways. And, I mean, you're a happy person now. You're just now make sure that whatever you're doing, you're passionate about it. You're not going to be able to rise to the heights in whatever you're pursuing unless you're passionate about it. Where there's passion, there's inspiration, there's drive and momentum. It's what's going to carry you through the hard times in order to help you to get to where you want to be in your career. If you want to get to the top, it better be something that you want to do, because it's not easy, and if it were easy, it probably wouldn't be worth your time. So you're looking for something that is going to challenge what you're capable of doing and be in alignment with your passion. And this is really what the road is going to look like to the great end product of your efforts. So if you want some edifice created out of your efforts, you want to make sure that it's in alignment with your passion, with your message, with your ideals, that it's going to challenge you appropriately so that it really is drawing out everything out of you that you can produce in order to ensure that you are creating the best thing that you're capable of creating. And you want to make sure that it's something that is going to help the world also. Somebody once said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you're trying to create some sort of organization or company that's going to affect a lot of people, then they need to know that your heart is in what you're doing and you're really on board with your own words. And when they see that, then you have the chance of holding their attention, and you have the possibility of leading people with your organization. And that's what you want to do, is lead them. So to be the game changer, you need to have a few simple things in place, like we've already discussed. You need to know what it is that you love to do. You need to have the drive to pursue that. So it needs to be that thing that really is most in alignment with you. And if it's not giving you that drive, it's not really the thing that you want to do. So know that if it's really what you want to do, the drive is going to be automatic. Next, make sure that you frame it in the context or into a format that brings in your other qualities, your other attributes, talents. That means if you are good at writing, then you bring in a writing format to that. If you're good at performing, then maybe you can bring in a performance aspect to it. And so now what you're left with is an idea. So what do you do with that? You do it with all of your passion. You do it with all of your energy, and you do it better than anybody's ever done it. You bring in all of the facts, you synthesize all of the information that's out there in those fields, and then you put them down, and you see what are the fundamental repeats of all the things in my industry. Then you do those better than anybody. And then finally, you grow a business by producing products and services that you can monetize on. Now, let's say you just want to be a better employee. Maybe you just want to, you're late in retirement, you have little interest in starting a business at this point, or you have had a successful business, and now it's time to enjoy life. What is there about your career that you can bring back to life? What about your past experiences now can you bring to the forefront to help people with? People who retire die faster than people who don't retire. Up until that certain age, when you stop having a thing to live for and you get out of the game, your body starts to shut down. It starts to accept that an end's coming and just zones out and it readies itself for death. Now, that is an important thing to remember if you're considering retiring and sitting around for the rest of your life. If you have skills and attributes and abilities and talents, things that you've developed over your career life, then it's important that you bring that out and you help people with that. If you can teach informational courses or lectures or things like that, you should do that. People want to hear your expertise, but if you don't offer it, people will never know what they're missing. And you could take all of your information, all of your learning to the grave with you, and that would be a pity. But if you carried on into the world after you left, then even if you've messed up everything until this moment, you can still redeem your entire life just by throwing it back out there so it can be recycled and rehashed, and reintegrated, and completely revolutionize somebody's life, potentially, giving them a heads up. And also I would advise you, don't think that anything that you know about a subject or a product or service that you have to offer is not going to help somebody, is not going to be useful. For most everything, whether it's going to be successful or not, there's somebody who's ready for your product or service. If you consider that it's very important to you to know what it is that you're offering is going to be useful for others, just wonder to yourself, is this something that would help me? Is this something, for instance, that I wish somebody would have told me? And if that's the case, then you can know that there's other people that are probably needing that information. So it's important that you get out there and put whatever you have out into the ether. Give it a chance, offer products and services to people, and listen to them. If you are not listening to people and they are giving you the advice that you were looking for, which is the input, which is, I don't like this part, I do like this part. This doesn't make any sense to me, this does. And if you're getting a collection of data like that, refine your communication style so that you can appeal to those people more easily. And that is going to make you more accessible for them and your information more accessible. And that's what the cause is all about. So I don't know what industry you're in. I don't know if you're just working behind the counter of a gas station and you are not content with that, but it's time to start something new, and your career should be more fulfilling than working to pass the time, trading your time for money, or simply settling for what you have. It's one thing to be content with your lot, it's another thing to be comfortable with it. You should be able to be content with whatever life throws your way. That's where the disconnect is for a lot of people, because they want to have a certain emotion, and if they don't have it, then they want to be unhappy with what's happening. But a certain degree of accepting what is necessary. On the other hand, being too comfortable with where you're at also is going to cause a slow dying of your abilities. If it's not growing, it's dying. So it's important that you have that level of satisfaction. So, all over the place, we're talking about making a better you through a more sound psychology. And if you find yourself sitting there wondering why things aren't moving, you need to look at your ethics and your integrity. Are they in alignment with what you want in your life? If not, then you're going to need to change how you're operating in order to see some karmic adjustments. You're wondering why bad luck is happening. You're wondering why things are falling through. You're wondering why it never goes right. Well, there's something in your thinking which is self-sabotaging you. Now, this is the good stuff right here. This is the reason why things aren't working out for you in the unseen realm. You're looking out, you're not seeing what you want. You need to adjust your state of being, because you are getting what you are. Your outside is a reflection of your state of being, and you can improve that just by being something different, being you differently, or just being a better you. It's you minus the crap. And if you got that, then you've got the path to growth. Because all the path to growth is the elimination of the things that don't work. You probably heard, you don't learn new things, you just remember things you've always known. It's variations of this idea. Well, at the core, you are knowingness. You are connected to the omniscience of the universe, and yet, if you don't see clearly, it's because you don't lack things or ideas, or so much as you have an abundance of problematic issues that you can relieve yourselves of. You can have a glass window which is clean as clear as day, but if you put peanut butter all over it, you're not going to be able to see through. What you do is wipe off the peanut butter, put your Windex on, clean that off, polish it off, and you're still working with the same tools you've always had, minus the crap. And the crap includes fears, irrational or otherwise, ego issues, whether that's a jealousy or greed or some sort of pride, and also the need to be disciplined. That is your freedom. Freedom is options, and to have that freedom, you have to have the discipline, which means you have to sacrifice the laziness in the now. It's easy to give up and to sit around and mope about what's happening, but if you're willing to get in there and pick up the pieces and start somewhere, things are going to start to move for you. It's that first step that causes things to start rolling for you. This is information that I've accumulated through years and years of experience and watching certain mentalities of mine fall through watching others be elevated, watching some states of mind bring me into happiness and other states of mind bring me into a series of failures, abysmal failures. And so it's important that you consider that there's a lot of aspects to bringing yourself into an alignment with the kind of person that you need to be in order to have and do and be the sort of things you want to have, do, and be. That means an adjustment in your overall perception of who you are. I can't stress enough that if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you want, and you're not clear about it, you're going to have a hard time looking for it, hard time finding it, knowing what it is that you got when you got it, and where you're at and where you need to go from there. So goal setting is very important here. And one exercise that I really enjoyed doing, and it's still effectual for me today, is this one about getting clear about the things that you want and don't want. Tony Robbins and I believe Joe Vitale also really get into this at one point or another to help you to get clear about what it is that you want. And that turns out to be the key to getting it. It expedites your progress almost by leaps and bounds. Some people will never come to the conclusion of realizing what it is they ever wanted, let alone starting to strive for it. But yet, when you figure out what it is, that's almost half the job. Because the rest comes naturally. The power of finding out what you want, the power in and of itself of that thing, pulls into being, into form, into fruition, the manifestation of itself. Through you and your attention on it, it comes very quickly, but much quicker than something else that you're putting your attention on, because this thing is something that resonates with you. And so that shared frequency, it's going to make that passion aspect come alive for you, and it's going to ensure that you are running towards what you want. And when it happens and when it comes, you're ready for it and you pounce on it and you're prepared for it because it's part of who you are. It's an innate part of you. So these are the basics. And if you go over each of these aspects in detail and at different times in your life, specifically going over all of these details all the time until you've refined each of the aspects to your satisfaction, you're going to start to see things are going to start to work out. The information you need, the next step in whatever your industry is, whatever your venture is going to appear to you. You're going to become privy to it. Whereas before you were not thinking about these things, you were not knowledgeable that you were going to need to know this next new thing that shows up into your life. They will begin to produce themselves organically, and as you're ready for it, it appears. And so this information helps you to cultivate your mind and your spirit so that you're always ready for something new. You're taking the new information, you're integrating it, because we're working with integrity, because we're working with what we're passionate about. This happens more naturally, and it's much more easier than trying to strive for somebody else's dream, trying to strive for something for superficial reasons. One of the other things we're going to be talking about, and as we have spoken about, is the importance that you get your satisfaction from you. You don't pull the satisfaction from the outside circumstance. If you want something that keeps you busy in a certain way or gives you the leeway or whatever, you can find a way to get into this interaction or this cycle with life, but the thing itself cannot be responsible for maintaining your joy. It cannot be responsible for maintaining your sense of dignity or maintaining your excitement for life. So what that means is you have to find that part of yourself, and we're going to help you do that. And this part of yourself which never changes, which is complete in and of itself, which is pure love, which is accepted and is an accepting force. And by working through this method of finding who you really are, that peace and that joy come up organically, and that sponsors your mentality. It sponsors your joy, your positive attitude, and that's really what you need. You want a lot of times people look for sponsors outside of themselves. They want a cheerleader here. They need approval from the boss there. But in the long run, there's going to be one common denominator in all of your experiences, and that, my friend, is you. And so if you are not your biggest cheerleader, if you are not accepting you, if you are not happy and content already by yourself, then maybe we need to look at why that is the case, because you have plenty of justification and reason, and it is part of your responsibility even to have that sense of joy, to carry the joy, to be the goodness, and to share that first, instead of expecting others to tell you what is great about you, to tell you what is great about what you're doing, to approve of what you're doing, because as soon as they're not approving, you feel bad. As soon as they're criticizing you, now they're allowed to make you feel bad. As soon as you're by yourself, you don't know what to think and feel. So you want to be on a positive trajectory. That means you have to feel positively about yourself, about your future, about your actions, about who and what you are and what you're contributing, because when you're coming from that place, that perspective is going to create evidence which people are going to be able to feed off of. And that's what you're going for. You're going for things that enlighten people, that make people happy. And you realize that things don't make people happy, and people put their dependency in things in hopes that it will make them happy. And in some small way, you can show them that part of themselves that is always there. And that's the deeper lesson. Unfortunately, every object does not come with it and say, this piece of material is only a pointer to the part of yourself that can sustain joy, independent of anything else. Things don't say that. And so we have a confusion, we have a syndrome going on in this world where the object automatically equals the joy. Having the thing equals the right to feel the satisfaction. It's the permission that it's okay, that there's something for me to feel good about, instead of being our own cause for being happy. Being happy just because, for instance, for no other reason than we're alive, then the sun is shining today, then we get another chance to refine ourselves before we pass on. I mean, there is a lot of good reasons, and you don't have to push real hard to help people understand this idea. But the problem is, there's really nothing out in the media, nothing out in the advertising industry, and these are the main forces that inundate the general population. Is all forms of media, whether it's the news or entertainment, or whether it's somebody selling you a product. It's more advantageous for these advertisers to put the focus and the joy into the product. They make the product a source of joy for you, when it should really do nothing more than reflect the joy that's in you. It should match that frequency and be a toy that you can spill your joy onto and express and have this manifested form with, and share that version of reality. But it should not be your joy, so that if it were removed out of your life, now you're sad. And so that is something that's going to come with time, if you haven't already figured that out. And so many people who are watching this have really already got that principle, because when it comes to helping yourself with self-help or spiritual material, that motivating force right away, usually one of the first steps is finding out that you are capable of making you happy. You are going to be the spring out of which all emotions come from, and it's that consciousness of choosing your emotions and selecting your emotions at any given moment that is going to free you to be independent of any circumstances, any perceived circumstances that would slow you down, that would slow down your personal development. And so that's how you keep on keeping on. And unfortunately, a lot of people stop at that place and they're comfortable, but it's important that you realize that by getting content, by being content, it doesn't mean you're comfortable. And just because you understand that you are the source of your happiness or the source of your anger, and you take that responsibility, you need to take the next step of the action of the development in the expression of your personal nature, and pursue that line of service to the public, whether it's through your career or whether it's through a hobby that you would like to monetize on, or whether it's through some sort of information that needs to be shared. So a lot of things have been discussed here on how to bring out the good in your day-to-day life through working on an idealized career. And by idealized, it's ideal for you. You are to do something that nobody else can do. And when you work on that, then you're going to feel the satisfaction of a job well done. You're going to be able to sleep soundly at night. You're going to be able to think about your daily accomplishments in the light of the progress that is being made on your behalf. Because once you start the ball rolling, it's going to roll on its own for you too. So you're going to get that push. You put in a little bit more is going to come back into you. Put in a lot, and a whole bunch more is going to come back into you. You put in everything you got, and then a little bit more, and then it completely explodes. And then everything that you could hope for comes for you. So it's going just a little bit beyond everything you've got. And that's where people fall short. They get to this place, and then they're content, and they get a little bit further, and then they're exhausted, and then they backtrack. You just keep pushing, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open. It's like the tipping point has been reached, and treasures and all sorts of love and goodness comes out of the universe that had been stowed away for that level of maturity that you can only reach through inner self-development. So you're going to get to that point if you haven't already, which if you had, I hope we get a chance to talk and you teach me what you've learned, because at that level, you're learning information, you're developing information on a daily basis that is just multiplying exponentially your life lessons. You're thinking in high principles, you're working along the lines of broad spectrum of concepts, of thinking, and as a result, every thought is able to shift every other part of your life because it's just all-encompassing. You just think that big. So I want that for you, and I think that you are just on the cusp of that occurring. So let's keep pursuing and stay tuned. Come back tomorrow for the next program, and we're going to discuss a little bit more on how to refine your sensibilities in order to get you up to that level that you've been striving for.